Hi guys. It is Saturday. I'm Megan. I'm in Seattle, yay! Just for visiting, and then I'm gonna go home, and then I'm gonna come back in like 3 weeks. Um, I'm really sorry about last week, how the video went up at like anywhere from 10 to midnight, depending on what time zone you're in, or 9 to midnight, I guess. I was logged in on YouTube on my personal channel, and just uploaded the video like normal because I'm usually not logged in on my personal channel. And then I got a text from Alana that was like, so it's midnight, you still haven't posted your video. And I was like, that's odd because yes, I have. And then I was like, oh crap. So that's why it went up at really late, and I didn't assess why that was in the video because I had already made it at like 2, as you could probably tell, because it was light outside. So anyway, I'm sorry. I'm gonna do it right this time. Okay, so the topic is basically just rant about anything that has to do with heteronormativity. And I don't really know where to start with this because this is like everything that I hate in the world. And I think where I'm gonna go with it is just like how little, like the more I live my life trying to not pay attention to gender, the more I realize that there really aren't very many defining characteristics that differentiate men and women. And you can align differentiating characteristics with gender, but you can also align it with a million other things. And the joke I always like to make is comparing it to hair color. Like, what if blondes and brunettes couldn't use the same bathrooms? Like, I bet you could do a bunch of different studies and surveys and statistical analyses and all of that crap on people that are blonde and people that are brunette and find a bunch of differences that align with that. And it's just like our society just happened to choose gender and decides to limit people based on that. And I think it just becomes like self-fulfilling the more that you tell people that they can't communicate because they're male, or they don't pay attention to detail because they're male, or they aren't going to be interested in rough things because they're female, or sports, or anything that has to deal with like a strong personality or anything like that. Like, if you tell people that and you constantly reaffirm it, and in everyday behavior they get that feedback, they're gonna grow up being that way because you told them that's how they were gonna be. And like, humans are constructions just like anyone, like anything else is a construction. Like, it's based on feedback, it's based on like a slow development, and if the entire world is telling you one thing that is true about yourself, then it's going to become true. And that's why I think that like a lot of the studies that have been done that quote unquote prove the difference between genders are completely invalid, because you can't take away the variable of like society's impact. And so you can't sit there and say that boys are different than girls. But yeah, that's sort of how I feel about it. I definitely agree with what a lot of the people have said about like just when you hear parents say little things like, no, like boys don't play with dolls, or like boys don't wear headbands, or, you know, stuff like that. It's like, it really is. It makes a really big impact, and you're sending a really wrong message to the kids. I think that's awesome what Darren said about like going to that gender, I don't remember exactly what it was, but just that there were like little kids that were dealing with huge gender issues, and that their parents were okay with that and just letting them sort of explore. I think it's dangerous, but I also think that it's probably necessary. Like, what are you going to do? It's their life, you know? I really think I could talk about this for like 20 minutes, but I'm gonna not, because I'll just go into the question. Your life in 10 to 15 years, this kind of plays off what I just said about the topic. Because I want to be a sociologist and I want to study gender. I basically want to prove that it's not an issue. I want to do studies on other things like hair color, like I said, or other characteristics that our society doesn't choose to pay attention to, and prove that you can align like differences between people with anything. All you have to do is pick it out, like tell people that they're this way because they have X characteristic, and if you tell them long enough and get enough people behind you, it'll become true. So I don't know how I'm gonna get paid to do that. I would have to prove to some people that I'm going to actually do really good work before I do it, because I'm going to need money to do the research. So I don't really know how that's going to work out, but Britt didn't ask that. She just said, like, ideally, where are you going to be in 10 or 15 years? So ideally, I'm going to be either finished with that project and already published on it. I would also be interested in going into journalism, like, along that same route, like, being a journalist about stuff like that. My girlfriend's saying pregnant. I don't know about that. So yeah, I don't really know where I want to live. I'm not entirely convinced that I want to live in the States for the rest of my life. But if I do, I can definitely see myself staying in Utah just because I love it so much. But I also need to explore a little bit more. I've only really spent significant time in a couple places, so I don't really know. I do want to have kids. I'm a huge fan of adoption, but I also kind of want to have my own children. I haven't really come to terms with that because I have a huge issue with like population growth, and just the fact that there are so many kids that don't have homes. And I don't know. I'm just torn right now, so I don't know. But I do want to have kids, and more than one, because being an only child was not a good experience. Yeah, I don't know. In shape, either successful financially or just happy and feeling like I'm doing something that's worthwhile, I guess, and making a difference. I don't know, pretty normal stuff. I hope to travel in the next few years, so hopefully I'm pretty well traveled by then. I hope to be fluent in Spanish at least. Maybe German, that's probably next on my list. Yeah, I think that's it. So I again apologize for last week. I'm not going to mess it up this time. And I hope you guys are having a good summer. School's coming up. That sucks. But I'll see you guys next week. Bye.